Right now, somewhere in Britain, a mum and dad in their 70s are sitting across a desk, a pen in hand, about to sign their family home over to their children. They think they're being clever. They think they're protecting the house from the taxman, from the care home, from all the things they've lain awake worrying about. And in about 60 seconds, with one signature, they're going to make a mistake that could cost their family tens of thousands of pounds and, in the worst case, cost them the roof over their own heads. I want to stop that pen, because if you have ever thought, even for a moment, maybe I should just put the house in the kids' names. This is the video you need to watch before you do anything, not after. Before. Here's the hard truth almost nobody tells you. Signing your home over to your children is one of the most tempting, most common, and most catastrophic decisions in later life. It feels like taking control. It feels like the smart, loving thing to do. But hidden inside it are 3 traps, 3 completely legal traps, and any one of them can turn your generous gift into a disaster. The tax you were trying to dodge? You often still pay it. The care fees you were trying to avoid? The council can act as if you never gave the house away at all. And the security of your own home? You can lose control of it entirely. I'm going to walk you through all 3 traps, one at a time, so you know exactly what you're risking before you ever sign a thing. But stay with me, because you have to understand the one wrong assumption underneath all of this first, or the traps won't make sense. My name's Robert. Let's get into it. So let's start with why this idea is so tempting. Because the instinct behind it is completely understandable, and I don't want anyone watching to feel foolish for having thought about it. It comes from a good place. Most parents, as they get older, worry about 2 things above all else. The first is inheritance tax, the tax the government can take from your estate when you die. For most families, the home is the biggest thing they own, and the idea of the taxman taking a slice of it after you've spent a lifetime paying the mortgage feels deeply unfair. So the thought is simple and seductive. Give the house to the kids now, get it out of my estate, and there's nothing for the taxman to grab. The second worry, and honestly the bigger one for most people, is care fees. We've all seen it or heard about it. A friend or a neighbour goes into a care home, and the fees are astronomical, £4,000, £5,000, £6,000 a month. And to pay for it, a lifetime of savings gets drained away and the family home has to be sold. It's a genuine fear, and it's not irrational. So again, the instinct kicks in. If I sign the house over to my children now, the council can't make me sell it later to pay for care. On the surface, both of those instincts make perfect sense. Get the house out of your name, and surely it's safe from the taxman and safe from the care home. It feels logical. It feels like you're finally taking control of something that frightens you. And that feeling of it being so obviously sensible is exactly what makes this trap so dangerous, because the reality is almost the complete opposite of what people expect. Before I show you the 3 traps, I need you to understand the single mistaken belief that sits underneath all of them. Because once you get this, everything else clicks into place. People assume that the law cares about one thing: whose name is on the deed. They think, if my name comes off the title and my children's names go on, then it's their house now in every sense. Out of my estate, beyond the taxman, beyond the council, done. That is the assumption, and it is wrong. Because the law doesn't actually work on whose name is on the paperwork. It works on 2 completely different questions. The first is, are you still benefiting from that house? And the second is, why did you give it away? Those 2 questions quietly unravel the entire plan. And here's why. Think about what almost every parent does after they give the house to the children. They carry on living in it. Of course they do. It's their home. Where else would they go? But the moment you do that, in the eyes of the taxman, you haven't really given the house away at all, because you're still living there, still enjoying it. And separately, if the reason you gave it away was to dodge care fees. The council is legally allowed to look straight through the whole thing, as if it never happened. So the very things you were trying to achieve, escaping the tax, escaping the care fees, are the exact things that cause the plan to collapse. And then there's a third trap that has nothing to do with tax or care at all. And it's the one that frightens me most for families. Let me take you through all three. But first, one quick thing. For those of you who'd rather have all of this, the family home, care costs, inheritance tax, the state pension, pension credit, and all the traps and deadlines that catch people out, written down in plain English in one place, I've put it into a guide called the UK Pensioner Survival Playbook for 2026 and 2027. No jargon, nothing you need a solicitor to translate. If you'd like it by your side, the link is in the description below at robertretires.com/UK. That's it. Now, here are the 3 traps hidden inside signing your home over to the kids. And the third one is the one nobody sees coming. Trap number 1 is the reason the tax saving you're chasing usually never happens at all. It has a name. It's called the gift with reservation of benefit. And once you understand it, you'll see why so many families get caught. Here's the rule, in plain English. The law says, if you give something away, but you carry on benefiting from it, then as far as the taxman is concerned, you haven't really given it away. And what is the most obvious example in the whole world of this? Parents who sign the house over to the children, and then keep living in it, rent-free for years and years. You've handed over the deeds, yes, but you're still living there, still enjoying the home, just as you always did. So the taxman looks at that and says, this gift doesn't count. The house stays in your estate for inheritance tax exactly as if you'd never signed a thing. Now think about how cruel that outcome is. You've given up legal ownership of your own home. You've taken on all the risks of doing that, which I'll come to. And yet you've gained absolutely nothing on the tax front, because the house is still counted as yours when you die. It's the worst of both worlds. And here's the detail that really stings. You may have heard of the 7-year rule, the idea that if you give something away and then survive 7 years, it falls out of your estate and becomes tax-free. Well, when you carry on living in the house, that 7-year clock never even starts ticking. You could live another 20 years and it would make no difference. The house is still yours for tax. There is technically one way around this. You'd have to pay your children full market rent to live in your own home, proper rent at the going rate, reviewed regularly, and then they may have to pay income tax on that rent. So you'd be paying rent on a house you used to own to escape a tax you might not even have owed in the first place. For the vast majority of families, that makes no sense at all. So this first trap, on its own, quietly defeats the entire reason most people do this. Trap number 2 is the one that catches the most people, because it's the fear that drives most of them to sign the house over in the first place. It's called deliberate deprivation of assets. And I want to tell you about a lady called Margaret, because her story shows exactly how this destroys families. Margaret was 79, worried about care fees. She signed her home, worth £380,000, over to her son to protect it. It felt like the sensible thing to do. But then her health declined, she'd needed care, and when she applied to the council for help with the fees, declaring she owned nothing, the council investigated. They found the transfer, and they ruled it was a deliberate attempt to avoid care costs. So here's what they did. They treated Margaret as if she still owned that £380,000, every penny of it. They call it notional capital. She was told she had to pay for her own care in full, but she couldn't. The house wasn't hers anymore, it was her son's. So Margaret was left with mounting care debt and no way to pay it, while her home sat in someone else's name. Here's the rule that makes this so dangerous, and I need you to really hear it. Most people believe that if they give the house away and survive 7 years they're safe from care fees. That is completely false. The 7-year rule is about inheritance tax only. It does not apply to care fees. When it comes to deliberate deprivation, there is no time limit whatsoever. None. The council can look back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and if the timing and circumstances suggest you could see a care need coming when you gave the house away, they can rule it deliberate deprivation and act as if you still own it. So the very protection people think they're buying, I'll survive 7 years and be safe, simply does not exist for care fees. That is the trap that caught Margaret, and it catches families every single day. And trap number 3 is the one that has nothing to do with tax or the council at all, and honestly, it's the one that worries me most, because it's the one people never, ever see coming. When you sign your house over to your children, you lose control of your own home, completely. Once that transfer is done, the house is legally theirs, not yours, and that means their lives, with all the unpredictability that every life carries, are now attached to the roof over your head. Let me spell out what that can actually mean, because these aren't rare disasters. They happen. If one of your children gets divorced, your home is one of their assets, and it can be dragged into the divorce settlement. A share of the house you spent your life paying for could end up with a former son-in-law or daughter-in-law, someone who may not care in the slightest whether you have anywhere to live. If one of your children runs into money trouble, or their business fails, or they're declared bankrupt, your home is one of their assets too, and their creditors can come after it. With you still living inside it, if one of your children dies before you do, and it does happen, the house passes under their will, not yours, and could end up with people you never intended who might want it sold. And even in the happiest, most loving family, if you simply fall out, or they change their mind, or a new partner leans on them, you have no legal right to stay in the home you gave away. You signed the house over to protect your family, but in doing so, you handed the security of your final years over to the winds of other people's lives. No tax saving on earth is worth that risk. So if all 3 of these are so dangerous, what should you actually do instead? Let me tell you. Now, I'm not going to leave you frightened with no way forward, so here's the honest, reassuring truth for most families. For the great majority of people, the best thing you can do with your home is the simplest. Keep it, live in it securely, and let it pass to your children when you die through a properly written will. And here's the part people don't realise. That route is usually better on tax too, not worse. The government gives most homeowners an extra allowance called the residence nil-rate band, specifically for passing your home to your children or grandchildren. Combined with the standard allowance, many couples can pass on a substantial estate, home included, with no inheritance tax at all, without giving anything away and without taking on a single one of those 3 risks. And because your children inherit the house rather than being given it, that future capital gains tax problem I touched on disappears too, thanks to something called the step up at death. So the do nothing dramatic route quietly wins on almost every front. If your estate is genuinely large enough that inheritance tax is a real worry, then the answer still isn't to sign the deeds over to the kids. It's to get proper advice about the tools built for exactly this. That might be a particular kind of trust set up correctly by a professional. It might be changing how you and your partner legally own the home and writing your wills to match so that part of it can be protected. These are real, legal, powerful strategies, but they must be done properly by someone who knows the rules and tailored to your family. They are a world away from the crude, dangerous move of just putting the house in the children's names. And 2 honest catches before I go. First, everything I've described is the general position across the UK, but the fine details, especially around tax and care assessments, can differ between England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, and the rules do change. So treat this as the map, not the exact directions for your street. And second, I'm absolutely not saying you can never help your children. You can. Gifting money while you're healthy, with no care need on the horizon, and surviving the 7 years can be a perfectly sensible thing to do. The danger is specifically in giving away the home you live in, and in making gifts when care is already looming. It's the timing and the reasoning that turn a loving gift into a catastrophe. So before you do anything with your home, please sit down with a solicitor or a qualified estate planner. One conversation before you sign can protect an asset worth hundreds of thousands and save your family from a Margaret-shaped disaster. So let's bring it home. Signing your house over to your children feels like the smart, loving thing to do. But 3 traps lie in wait. The tax saving that never happens because you still live there. The care fee rule the council can see straight through, with no time limit at all. And the loss of control that puts your home at the mercy of divorce, debt, and fallings out. For most families, the safe path is simply to keep your home, use the allowances the law already gives you, and get proper advice for anything more complex. Don't sign away your security to escape a tax you may never even owe. If this opened your eyes, do me a favour and share it with anyone who's ever talked about putting their house in the kids' names. You might just stop that pen before it's too late. Hit subscribe for more, and if you'd like it all written down in one place, the Pensioner Survival Playbook link is in the description. I'm Robert. Look after yourselves, look after your families, and I'll see you in the next one.